This is a 100-mile review of the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Paris. I have divided this video into 3 separate sections. Part 1, now that I've gotten to know the shoe intimately, what is it exactly? Part 2, how is the shoe holding up after 100 miles? Upper, midsole, outsole. And part 3 are the questions. Did it answer all the questions that I had at the beginning in my initial review? And going forward, what big questions remain about this shoe? Spoiler alert, there's really only one big one. So stick around to the end to find out. Oh yeah, now for some running footage.
They tried to count me out.
Oh, just kidding. I'm gonna skip the running footage because that's what I do when I watch other YouTubers. I just skip the running footage. And they say, like, when you make a YouTube channel, you should make the videos that you would like to see. And since I haven't been able to find an alligator and a bear wrestling, and I can't make that happen on a regular basis, I'm stuck here on YouTube doing shoe reviews with no running footage. So let's get to it. Part 1, what is this shoe exactly? Let's nail it. Okay, follow me on this one. Last year, at the end of the year, shoe reviews, shoe tubers, they created a new category called super trainers. These were plated daily trainers that were training companions for race day shoes. This year, I'm gonna make a prediction on May the 1st in the year of our Lord 2024, at the end of this year, they're gonna do that again. They're gonna create a new category, and it's gonna be race day shoe A and race day shoe B. And I think that's a mistake. I think they're gonna split the race day into 2 categories, but I need to explain what that is real quick to help define what this shoe is and where it falls in the spectrum of super shoes. Now, the reason this would be a mistake is there's no easily identifiable, universally accepted way to divide the super shoe category. Would we say like 5K, 10K versus marathon super shoes? Would you say it's high plate versus low plate super shoes? Would you say it's more aggressive versus less aggressive, stride versus cadence? There's really just no way to do it, and it gets more confusing the deeper you dive into it. Nike, for example, you would say Vaporfly 2. It's the more aggressive shoe for shorter distances, and the Alphafly 2 less aggressive for marathons. But then look at the 3, right? So Vaporfly 3 is the less aggressive of the 2, and you could say that the Alphafly 3 would be more aggressive. It doesn't work. And to my point, let's look at ASICS. They've essentially made the same shoe with the Metaspeed Edge Paris and the Metaspeed Sky Paris, just with a different plate position based on your preference, except they've labeled one a 5 to 10K racer and the other one a marathon shoe. With that being said, now I'm gonna tell you what this shoe exactly is. What the Metaspeed Edge Paris is a hybrid shoe. That's what it is. It's a hybrid super shoe. It's a super shoe you can take for 5K and it can go the marathon distance. In fact, I'm using it for my 5K on June 9th and for the Marine Corps Marathon at the end of October. If I don't win the Alphafly 3 sweepstakes take 3, then I'm gonna roll with this shoe. But Andrew, you say, but don't say, but I say for you, because I'm the one making this video. Isn't every shoe a hybrid shoe? Can't you run any distance with any shoe? And technically you can, okay? But when someone tells me that they ran a 5K in Alphaflies, there's judgment, okay? Similarly, if you run a half marathon and Takumi sent 8 or 9s, like, okay, I had a buddy one time, Derek, he used to be like, what's up, big nuts? Like every time I saw him, what's up, big nuts, right? And I imagine that like, he saw me as the kind of guy who could run a half marathon and Takumi sent 8s. Okay, so it's a hybrid race day shoe. Let's get to part 2. How is the shoe holding up after 100 miles? Okay, after 100 miles, the upper is holding up just fine, like you would expect. I will say to note on the upper, just the overall fit. For me, the shoe lands kind of in between sizes. I've talked to other people who also, the shoe lands in between sizes. For some, it does fit true to size, but for me, I'm normally a US men's size 9. It was about an 80th too short. So I sent it back and I got a 9.5. So now it's almost like an 80th too long, which really isn't that big of a deal because I just like to cinch down the laces and pull on the tongue, and it makes a nice tight fit. Now, guys, I could have stayed with my US men's size 9 and it would have been fine because the upper material is very breathable, and yet it's also pliable or like stretchy enough to where your toes can wiggle without being really clamped down. You don't really feel like you're gonna lose a toenail necessarily for a 5K. But if I was wearing this for a marathon distance, that's when I would be a little bit more weary of it. So I just went and played it safe with the 9.5. Lastly, the only thing I'll say about the upper is that I wish the tongue had slightly more padding on it. I feel like the added weight would be negligible to the race performance and it would just be slightly more comfortable. Okay, for the outsole, as you can see, it's holding up incredibly well. On the lateral heel side, you can see that there's almost no fall damage, and that's for two reasons. Number one is that my form is changing. I used to be a heel striker and I'm transitioning more to mid to forefoot. So as I'm taking a longer stride, as my foot comes through the gate, I'm landing more here to here. So I'm taking fall damage midfoot to forefoot and less down there. And number two, this shoe really rewards my stride at faster paces from midfoot to forefoot. And I use this shoe and have primarily been using this shoe for my speed workouts. Also, I'm in a speed block. So essentially all the time that I'm using this shoe, I'm landing on my midfoot to forefoot because that's where it feels best. Okay, and lastly, for the midsole, it is just as juicy and it's just as bouncy as when I first got it, which I would hope to expect when I paid $250 for the shoe. Though I do know some super shoes have the life of the midsole has died well before then, or so I've heard from other shoe tubers, and I believe them. That's not the case with this shoe though. Okay, part 3, the questions. Now, the main question I had about this shoe when I first got it was, could it go the marathon distance? Because it's certainly a very fast shoe and I love it. That's 3 loves for anything half marathon or faster. And to be honest, the only reason that I even posed this question is because when I first got the shoe, I took it out for a 10-mile marathon pace block and I was still at the time landing midfoot to forefoot. And I had the question while I was doing that, like, could I do this for 26.2 miles? I don't know with my new form if I have the discipline or the endurance or the focus to do that. However, the Metaspeed Edge Paris is a marathon shoe because, listen to me, hear me out. When my form has fallen off, because it has in the 100 miles that I put into this shoe, I end up reverting to my heel striking tendencies. As you can see, there is some damage here on the lateral heel side. And when I did the Flight Foam Turbo Plus foam, it's everywhere. It's not just in the front, it's in the back too. And when you land, it feels awesome. As far as the energy return goes, it's uniform. So if late in a race, in a marathon, I no longer landed where I wanted to get the most return, I would be fine. Oh, side note, that isn't to say that the heel is wide or ideal for heel strikers. If you're a heel striker, you might prefer a wider platform or something to carry you on that distance. So now it's time for the remaining questions. How did Stonehenge end up looking like that? What happens after we die? Why haven't you subscribed to the channel yet? Life is full of mysteries. Anyway, at what mile does this foam die? Now, I took my original Metaspeeds to over 500 miles because the rigidity of the plate gave me eternal energy return, but it was harsh on my feet over long distance. But ASICS has changed all of that with this shoe, the Metaspeed Edge Paris. It can go the distance for a broader range of runners, but how many marathons can you get out of the shoe? Well, since I hired Matt Fox of Sweat Elite to be my coach for a 5K block and then also for the Marine Corps Marathon, we're gonna find out. So hit the bell notification so that my small little channel, SMOL, doesn't get swallowed up by yours and my favorite giants of the running space. Oh, and if you did miss the first impression video of the ASICS Metaspeed Edge Paris, check it out right here.
They tried to count me out. I'ma gon' count me in. Fill up my bank account.